Good evening for the person watching with us right now. This is Blue Collar Fishing Thursday Night Live. I am Kelly. I am Blue Collar Fishing. I am a multi species angler and part time YouTuber. And we have a special guest with us tonight, Michael Johns. Michael Johns is the founder of FX3, a veteran association. And I'll let him introduce himself and tell him what he's all about. Mike, go ahead.
Hi, most of you guys that follow me know me as MJ. Yeah, I'm Michael Johns. I am the founder of FX3 Incorporated, and we're a veteran nonprofit. And what I like to do is as I travel and I do fish professionally on the MPFL. As I travel, I like to take veterans out fishing, and I teach you to use fishing as a form of therapy. Everybody knows. I mean, we know the stigma behind stuff of PTSD, and you think you got a mental illness. It's not. A lot of times you've witnessed traumatic events. It could have been in wartime. It could have been stateside. There's so much that goes into serving your country. And what I'm doing is I'm offering this at no cost to the veterans and in hopes to start curbing veteran suicide. The VA released an article about a year ago, and from 2008 to 2018, we averaged 6,000 veterans a year that took their life after returning from overseas or getting out of service. And so, my goal is, and what the goal of FX3 Incorporated is to stop that number.
Okay. So you offer counseling as well to these veterans?
I personally am not a licensed counselor. I always actually every social media platform has my personal cell phone number. If I do see that or feel that a person is going to need a medical approach, I have psychiatrists and counselors that I can refer to and have on standby that we can get you also, a licensed person to counsel you and help you out.
All right. And where would somebody go to learn more about this?
You head on over to the website at www.fishingfamilyforever.org. That's the website right there.
All right.
Or you can text me at 912-270-3726. On social media, on Facebook, it's at FX3 Incorporated or at Mike Johns. On Instagram, it's at FX3INC. Twitter, it's at FX3INC or at MJ Fishing.
And how many veterans have you taken fishing so far?
Going to the books earlier this year, since we started in 2019, we just hit 200.
It's quite a few in a couple of years.
I try to my goal that I've tried to push every year is in between fishing tournaments and other things to do with the nonprofit. I try to at least get 100 guys on the water, and I figure that's just about a third of the year, and that gives me enough time to plan, raise funds because gas prices keep going up and it's not getting any cheaper. What I also do with the veterans I take out, I equip them to be able to continue using fishing as therapy by giving them a couple of rod and reel setups, bait setups. Couldn't do that without sponsors and financial support.
Okay. Where can somebody go to sponsor your program or financially support your program? Same
You can
website?
go to the same website, or same way, hit me up on social media. I can send you a packet and show what we do. We just partnered with Lithium Battery Power today. That's official. We're out. They've put decals and got the truck looking all nice. It's going to get dirty, but it looks good right now. So yeah, same thing. Just reach out to me or the website. You can also send any email to fx3@fishingfamilyforever.org. And that'll distro to, we have a few board members throughout the United States. So we're trying to go as national as possible. Traveling on the tour because my next stop is in South Carolina. I've got 2 guys in South Carolina that want to go fishing when I'm there. I'll be there just about the whole month. I got the Toyota Series April 7th to the 9th, and then I got the MLF Toyota Series, and then I got the MPFL the 17th to the 23rd. So in between that time, between Hartwell and Santee Cooper, I'm going to get a couple guys out on the water. We also leave from there. We'll go to our next stop will be Tennessee. We're on Watts Bar. That'll be in. We travel all over. So we leave Tennessee Watts Bar. We go up to Ohio. and then we go to Michigan after that, the Saginaw Bay area, um, and then we come back down to Florida to finish off the season. So
I know Watts Bar well. I grew up near there.
beautiful area, beautiful. If it had as many large fish like we do in Florida, I would move there. But we just, I mean, there's some nice fish on Watts Bar, but here in Florida, I live an hour and a half north of Okeechobee, 30 minutes from Lake Toho, an hour and 15 minutes from the Harris Chain. So I live like central to these major fisheries. And so
Well,
I actually, when I was looking to transfer down, I was stationed up in DC. And when I was looking to transfer down, I chose where I live strategically for fishing. The county I moved into has 88 public waterways. That's 88 public lakes. And I was like, man, I've tried to fish them all, but I haven't. I think I've gotten in the 40s.
well, Florida is also, if you want that multi-species list, Florida is the place to be, especially with all the invasives that are there now.
Oh,
Because you
I
can,
know, yeah.
well, Florida, you can check off 2 oceans. You know,
You can. And even if you go just freshwater, I mean, we got multi-species. You can go just about 2.5 hours south of me and run the canals and catch peacock bass. You can catch the bullseye snakeheads. You can catch, I mean, there's a lot of different species here in Florida. Yeah, and then if you mix in saltwater that out on either side of the coast, I mean, it's limitless.
we got snakeheads up here where I live at currently now too.
Yeah, we have
East
more.
Pennsylvania.
There's more what we call bowfin or mudfish here,
Mm-hmm.
but south of us, those bullseye snakeheads are starting to grow. They're basically got like a spot on their tail, kind of looks like a scope from a rifle. That's how they're identified. Pretty gnarly looking dudes. When I was up in Virginia, when I was stationed in DC, I lived in Stafford, and there were a ton of snakehead in that area, and they're fun to catch. I mean, but yeah, they just destroy habitats or
You catch
fish
them on bass
habitats.
gear.
Oh, all day. Topwater frog. You get you a popping frog. If there's a snakehead nearby, you'll find them.
Well, I think Florida has ruled on those snakeheads that they're not nearly as dangerous as they had once thought they would be. I mean,
Right.
you can even catch and release them now. They
Yeah.
there for a while they thought the snakehead was going to wipe out the local bass population, and I mean they're ferocious eaters, but I, no, I think nature usually has a way of figuring itself out. Mm-mm.
I think so too. I mean, you
Yeah.
figure to me a snakehead, just like I said, a bowfin or what we call a mudfish. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure in Georgia you call a mudfish. Um,
I'm not
to
from
me,
Georgia. I live in Pennsylvania.
oh, that's right. I'm sorry. I keep thinking you're from Georgia for some reason. Um,
That's Kevin Cantrell.
maybe there's so many people keeping up with everybody's states, man. It's crazy. But so down in Georgia and Florida here, like I said, I don't think the snakehead's any different than a bowfin. Um, they're just as aggressive. I mean, they look similar. Their colors are a little different, but I think they're just. I think bass have adapted to that also.
I think snakehead are different than bowfin in one major category. They're a lot better on the plate. Bowfin's disgusting. Snakehead's pretty good.
Oh, is it? I see. I couldn't tell you. I've never had either. So,
A snakehead's delicious.
oh wow.
It is. So next time you get one, fillet it up.
All right, I have to try that out.
It's one of the best frying fish there is.
Tell my tournament marshal to turn his head while I freaking fillet a boat. Like, hey, turn that camera off for a second. Let me fillet this bowfin or this snakehead up real quick.
I always wondered what happened in tournaments like that when Florida had those rules and regulations, because it used to be if you caught one, kill it.
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't remember fishing tournaments, big tournaments back then, but yeah, I remember my dad. Man, we carried a club in the boat, and you caught one, you clubbed it right there, you just tossed it back.
Well, what kind of boat are you running in the tournament here, Mike?
Well, the tournament.
Sorry, do you go by Mike, Michael, MJ, John? What do you go by?
I go by a lot of names. I've been called. I was a cop for years, so I've been called everything. A lot of people call me MJ. A lot of people call me Mike. I tried to shy away from Mikey because of stupid life cereal. I hated that cereal growing up because my brothers were always like, "Give it to Mikey. Mikey will eat anything." See, Mikey likes it, and yeah, didn't that actually nickname stuck till I was like 17 years old, and still my mom still calls me that. But it's my mom. I'll let her get away with it.
Yeah. Okay, what you prefer? I'll call you whatever you prefer.
It doesn't matter. You call me Mike, call me MJ. I'll answer to, like I said, multiple.
All right.
It
I
doesn't
go by
matter.
MJ because that's what you got on your ticker there.
There you go.
All right, MJ, what kind of boat are you running?
So I do have a nitro, is what I do normally run. However, before my Kentucky tournament, I blew the power head, so now I'm running a Ranger. So yeah, Ranger electronics are Garmin and Humminbird now. I got Garmin for the Panoptics. I mean, if you haven't seen Panoptics on the water, a phenomenal game changer for the tournament angler. Save you some time, especially in these
Scope.
clear waters. Live scope, yes. So, especially in tournament waters in these clear places that don't have a lot of grass and hydrilla. Now in Florida, Panoptics it handicaps you a little bit being in thick grass. Garmin did combat that with a called a perspective mode, which is kind of like a forward. It's kind of like a smaller version of the what's that Hummingbird's 360. But you can pan the perspective around on the trolling motor because that's where the transducer mounts. So that helps as far as trolling motor. I do run Garmin electronics. However, my by far favorite trolling motor since I've gotten it last year is the Motor Guide Tour Pro. The best trolling motor. It does look wicked. The head on that thing is monstrous. It looks like it reminds me of like you watch what Transformers. Optimus Prime is big at the head. And it's what the head reminds me of on a tiny little trolling motor. And people say it's hideous, but it's one of the best performing trolling motors. I beat that thing up. I'm not shy when it's going in the water, going in the sticks, stumps, logs, and that thing has surpassed every brand I've run. So that's it. A breakdown of that is Motor Guide for trolling motor, Garmin, Panoptics. I do like Humminbird. Hummingbird's got some really good structure scan options, especially the Mega down imaging. However, Garmin is a sponsor, and with that, Panoptics Live Scope is just phenomenal.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of this live scope on YouTube and stuff. And actually, I believe there is some discussion about how long live scope will be usable in professional fishing, because if they're going to make a rule against it or not, because it has just made it like the technology is just so far advanced now. Like I've seen one of these kids, these YouTube kids, in 2 trips now with live scope, he's got 7 double digits for the year. Pretty big advantage if you can tell what the big bass is. You know.
Well, I
You can
mean,
watch the lure swim into a fish's mouth now. That's
so that is a huge advantage. But however, I've been on both sides of the discussion, and I've heard it argued in angler meetings. I've heard it argued in the league, and basically, it still comes down to the point. Yeah, the live scope might help you find the fish. You still got to get them to bite, or you still got to know where an area is. It's not like you're riding around and your live scope starts beeping saying there's fish under the boat. So it still takes some knowledge. And I know what you're talking about with these YouTubers, but a lot of these guys are going into water they know. So taking into perspective, somebody like me, all right, I'm heading up to South Carolina. We fish Santee Cooper first. I've been on that lake a couple times. I do have Panoptics, but I still got to ride around and find the spots. And then I'm looking at a spot. I'm looking at my maps before I go. and I still have to take my Panoptics and read it to be able to. Oh, okay, there could be some fish here. Oh, yeah, there are fish here. So
Oh,
I still say it is a wild advantage. It is nice when you see a fish turn on your bait. Now I can say that is one. I've I think I got a video. If not on if I didn't put it on Twitter, I did. I put it on. I got a website also for my angler, and it's at mjfishing.com or at mikejohnsfishing.com. And there's a video there of me running a jig, and you see this fish turn, kind of gets close to the jig, and then he spins off. So kind of wild, being able to see stuff like that.
and being able to see 100 feet at a time.
Yes, but
It's
yeah,
pretty. It's a big difference. It's a big difference in electronics now.
the only problem, like as far as visibility at 100 feet, it, your unit, I like even with most of the updates Garmin's released, I'd say 60 feet. That's my max. Past 100 feet, that's a lot of guesswork going on there. I know I've heard people saying that, yeah, I can see this fish 100, 125 feet from the boat. I'm not seeing that clarity. And I've done everything as move a lithium battery to the front of the boat to where it has no voltage drop to the black box that's on the front. And I'm not seeing that 100 feet. And 70 feet, still nice. Still nice at 70 feet. But to me, I don't. Granted, you're looking forward a little bit, but still, it's no different to me than side scan, down imaging. You think about the Mega Live. You can ride your boat 4 miles an hour, 5 miles an hour, and see fish moving around with your down electronics. So, Panoptics and Live Scope and Live Sight for Lowrance, and then what's I think Hummingbird's calling theirs Mega Live or something. All these are kind of forward progressive, but all they've done is dialed in how side scan works. I mean, you think about side scan, I can look at 80 feet on either side of my boat, and I can see a stick sticking up as I'm riding by. So I think if you start limiting electronics, then I think if you take away Panoptics, that technology, then why not take away the rest? We go back to the old Lowrances, the old bubbles.
Well, I mean, there are already rules set in place that limit things like size of your boat. They limit how small a boat you can have, the size of your boat. They limit, can't use live bait. They limit that. They limit. So I don't know if as this grows and grows and grows, I don't know if maybe it will become more like NASCAR, where everybody's got to have the same.
Well, I think that's why these other companies have come out with the technology,
Yeah,
So now Lowrance has come out with their live site. Hummingbird's got their version of it. But as far as I get what you're saying about, that we are limited. So the size of the boat, as the thing. But a lot of the size of the boat issues are safety. You don't want a guy out there in an 18-foot boat. Yeah, he can put a 200 horse on the back of it and drive 90 miles an hour. But if we're running across the bay in 8-foot swells, that guy in that 8-foot boat, I mean, that's dangerous. So that's why they've done that. They've also they regulate horsepower. We can't use under a certain horsepower, which is another thing for safety because you got people that you just brought up NASCAR. There's some anglers, they think they're running a race when we take off, and you don't want to be that guy on a 90 horse trying to just breeze to your spot and getting past at 75. Same thing with that is they cap it at a certain horsepower. You can't go above 250. And a lot of that stuff is safety. As far as live bait, there's no skill in catching fish with live bait. I just that's I couldn't watch a tournament if they're just sitting there using live bait because I'm like, what? I mean, really, what are you doing? But getting an artificial bait to getting a bass and winning a tournament off of something you've made look realistic enough for a fish to eat and weigh those big ones, to me, that's why I'm in the sport.
I get that. There are some other species that I think live bait's a thing, but like ice fishing
I'm sure they are.
competitions, and of course not in professional bass fishing, but Like I
Well, I
don't
think
use
isn't there
live
some
bait for
live
bass,
bait
but
and crappie fishing, like the professional crappie side? I don't know if they use jigs or.
maybe could be. I didn't even know there was professional crappie fishing until like a couple of years ago.
So those two guys got caught cheating.
No, I don't remember that. I just
It was
saw
like
it
a couple years
flipping.
ago. I was about the same. I didn't know. I was like, I've seen people talk about crappie fishing and crappie stuff, but I didn't realize how big a following was. And these two guys, somewhere from out Midwest, they were catching these fish, putting them in like a cage, like a fish cage, and then they'd of course fish a team tournament, go for the tournament, and then take those fish out the cage and go weigh it. And they
I've
would
seen that
take.
in bass fishing.
Oh yeah, I've caught traps before. So, but yeah, these guys and they got nailed. They I can't remember how something about one of the crappie they had caught from like a different state, and it was like like a different color than everything. Like it stood out like a sore thumb, like orange in the middle with a lot of black. Um, Something made this tournament director say, "Wait a minute, where did this fish come from?" He calls a fish biologist. They do a test, and the fish had come from like somewhere in like the Tennessee River or something, and they were fishing in like Oklahoma. So it was something wild like that. And these guys won. I can't remember. They were up just if they weren't at $1 million, they were close. So have won that much money over years, and so you know crazy. And yeah, I'm sure it's happened in bass fishing. I've caught those traps before. Um, but now, I mean, with the technology, we got cameras on the boat all the time. Just or a marshal. There's just they started limiting that, especially with the bigger money coming out.
And you say you're fishing Watts Bar next?
No. My next tournament will be hold on. It's South Carolina. Oh, my next tournament is MLF, the Toyota Series on Santee Cooper. That'll be April 7th to the 9th. Then after that, on the 17th to the 23rd, we will be at Lake Hartwell, South Carolina, for
Yeah,
the
they just had
National Professional Fishing League.
Yeah, they just had the Bassmaster Classic on Hartwell this
They did.
last
Now the
year.
elites are at Santee Cooper right now.
Oh, I hate that word.
The Bassmaster elites.
I hate the word elite. I hate it. I'm like, you pretentious. It's cringy to me. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, look, you get paid to fish. I can handle pro or professional. But I put a Twitter post up a year ago, and I stand by this. Like in fishing, and I'm a fan. Don't think I'm not a fan. I think there's some skill involved. But in fishing, the level of difference in talent between just your average Joe on the weekend and a guy who does it professionally is not that big of a divide.
Now,
I
you,
wouldn't
you know
call
what the
myself elite, you know.
the
Like
biggest
I will.
divide really that we have as far as that advantage. And no, I don't consider myself elite. I've been smoked out of the back of my boat. Um, Pleasure fishing, and the biggest advantage we have doing it for a living. I'm on the water more. That's the biggest advantage. When most guys that fish in sub tournament level, they're working a job 9 to 5. They take leave to be able to fish that tournament. So that gives you a leg up. More time on the water, being able to try out different techniques every day. That's the only thing that gives you any type of advantage. And to get smoked by somebody that doesn't, that's humbling. And that's one thing you'll learn on the pro side is professional fishing is very humbling because I've been at practice, and it just happened to me in Kentucky. My practice in Kentucky was wonderful, and I was thinking I was going to have the best day. Well, next thing you know, we got that storm come through. They had to cancel day 1 because of flooding. We had to cancel day 2 because we couldn't leave the boat ramp because of logs floating through. And so we fished one day, and the water between our last day of practice and the first day of competition had risen almost 14 feet, and the temperatures had dropped about 4 degrees in the water. And it ruined my game. Now, some guys figured it out. I was not one of those guys. I was very humbled because I talked a lot of smack leading up to that point. and I was not able to back it up on tournament day for sure. So very humbling. If you're thinking about getting into professional fishing, think twice.
It happens. Sometimes you just can't make them bite. There are too
No.
many things that influence fishing, and it's not just the angler.
Yeah,
So
well, and it goes back. I was running live scope. I'm watching the fish swim next to my drop shot, and I'm like, eat it. I'm like hitting the fish with my drop shot, and they're running from it. I'm like,
hitting it in the head.
yeah. I'm like, come here. So that's one of the reasons I say when people talk about that being outlawed or phased out of the tournament industry, I still don't think it will. Just for that simple fact, I when I did figure out a bite in Kentucky, it was like 2:30. I had like an hour and 15-minute ride back to the weigh-in site. There was no way I'd have made it, and I still didn't catch a scorpion smallmouth. I caught 13 smallmouth in the last 20 minutes, but none of them were above 18 inches. So I finally figured out a pattern, but way too late.
Well, I think the changes from like the old guys. So a lot of the old guys are like, this didn't exist when I was there, and maybe there are several other things that didn't exist back when they were winning tournaments either. But maybe to them, the reason that the discussion is going so far is like, okay, video game fishing, that might be just a bridge too far. I don't,
That's the term. You hear it all the time, man. Video
Yeah.
game fishing is, it's literally, and it's just like that, really. I mean, but once again, you still got to be able to find those fish. You still got to be
Yeah.
able to make them bite. So there's still some amount of skill in that aspect.
Well, I mean, there are other things that didn't exist back then either. Like
Yeah,
Gary
true.
Gary Yamamoto had never made a Cinco till 1996. So
Right. Oh, yeah. I mean, Berkeley injecting their baits with some of the best scent that fish will just hold on. That didn't exist back in the day.
I love power bait. That power bait scent, man. That's that's special.
Yeah, man. I've reached out to a Berkeley rep just about every year, and
That
I'm
gulp.
not. Well, I'm not. Oh yeah, the gulp minnow is. If it's a tough bite, you can get those. I like to use the saltwater ones, the real curly tail gulp minnow.
Because it's like a fluke. It's bigger. Yep.
Yeah, and that's my favorite. If it's a finicky bite, I can put that on a weighted hook and drop that on a ledge or into some grass, and I'll guarantee you it's getting eaten.
I've caught everything. It's one of the few baits that I've had live up to the advertising, and I actually have outfished live bait with it.
Yeah.
And I've caught everything on it. Because they make them from that big to that big,
Right. I've taken veterans out, and I actually have a video. I got two veterans on either side of me, and we're fishing this little canal. On either side of me is a cork, and they've got live shiners on their hooks. I'm throwing a Trixie Shark by Reaction Innovations, and I catch a 6-pounder. And I'm throwing the artificial bait. And it had an option. I mean, it's crazy because you'll actually see a cork in the video, and right when it gets 8 feet from that cork in the middle of it, he just blows up on it. So he had came up into that canal, probably sniffing the shiners, but decided he wanted what was running across the top of the water more than he did the artificial bait.
Yeah, I tell everybody there's actually only 2 ways to catch fish. But no, you're crazy. There's 100. No, there's 2. There's 100. No, there's 2. You can feed them or fool them.
Yeah, that's it.
That's stupid notifications. All right. Now, did you say you had been to Watts Bar, or you're going to Watts Bar?
We haven't fished Watts Bar. I've fished it in the past. Yeah, we'll go to Watts Bar is the next stop on the tour. I believe it's mid-May. I can't remember. Yeah, I can't remember the exact date. Should be a fire time. Fish should be completely post-spawn that time of year. They should be. I'm hoping I'm a shallow water, top water fisherman. If I can fish shallow and not have to go up in the grass or fish offshore grass and structure, you'll find me in some shallow stuff. I carry a push pole run on my boat because the shallower I can get, the better. Because I've caught monster fish. The one video or the one photo you showed in the intro video, I caught that 7-pounder in 8 inches of water. But just getting ready to spawn, they were stacked up shallow, and I couldn't even put my trolling motor down much because every time I'd let it go all the way down, start digging dirt. So I'd literally have to pick it up with the cable, troll a little bit, but very shallow water where I catch a ton of fish. Now, when it does come time, I do have to go offshore. Like when we went to Kentucky, that was just wild. And you're from Pennsylvania, so you got some of that deeper water. In Florida, we're not used to. I'm not used to a 30-foot ledge next to the bank. I'm used to you got to walk a half mile from the bank to get waist deep water. I mean, I've heard people get intimidated about Okeechobee. Okeechobee's average depth is 10 feet. That's it's the 5th largest lake in the U.S., but it's shallow, and there's a lot of spots.
Surface area.
Yeah,
it's the 5th largest in surface area, not in gallons per.
Oh no, definitely not in gallons per water. And so
it's technically the 10th largest lake in the U.S., but it's the 5th after the Great Lakes.
I gotcha. Yeah, true. Sorry, Bill Nye, the science guy. Just refilling my drink. I don't know if you watched back in the day when we used to do the Fishing Family Network. I was refilling my drink one night. I don't know if you've seen that episode, but that sound right there, literally, Frank, who used to be big on Twitter with us, he thought I was peeing in a cup, and then immediately after you heard that, and he fell out of his chair, dying laughing, thinking I just peed in a cup. Because let me back up and kind of fill in the rest of that. I was getting drunk. I had tied one on, had a rough day at work. It was my weekend, and we were doing that broadcast, and I was like, oh yeah. And so you could tell I was having a good time. So he thought I got so drunk, I peed in the cup and started drinking it. And oh man, to see his face react, to hear it, you can hear it. I think when I made the drink, I was so close to the mic, you could hear every little the water dropping in. I couldn't have timed it out, or I couldn't even done that again if I tried. What a very funny moment. I do like the way you're saying, though, getting the band back together again. I miss the camaraderie we used to have with the fishing family. It seems our nation has gotten so divided over beliefs and politics and stances that we've all kind of just went our separate ways.
Yep. Yeah, I remember the FFN. Actually, they started that after they were on my show.
Okay.
They were the first 2 guests I had, I think.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And then that gave them the idea to go do the FFN.
Nice. Oh, Sonny.
He was on here last week.
Sonny was?
Yeah, he was in the FFN. He was in the chat.
Oh, yeah, he was. I hit him up. I'm curious why he hasn't commented yet. I hadn't seen old Drazzle yet either.
I think they live in Central Time Zone, and they keep forgetting that I'm in Eastern.
Yeah, maybe we'll send a text.
So Drazzle lives in Eastern, but
no, he lives right at that border because his house in Georgia. When I was fishing Seminole last year on the Toyota Series, I had to remember there were parts of Lake Seminole that are in Central Time Zone. So you'll look down at your fish finder thinking you got 4 hours of fishing left when you only got 3.
But yeah, it usually takes about the first hour. You just get the views from who I've got their machines running and things like that. And
yeah,
but people will come in and watch the replay of the question. So I just run like the crowds in here. But yeah, it's nicer. There's more to bounce off of when there's a crowd in here.
Yeah,
Usually around 8 o'clock, people start coming in. I just
right.
have started doing them again too, so I have to get used to that.
Yeah, and that's not because I was doing them for a while, and then it just gets so hectic trying to keep up with it. I know you definitely know because you're still doing it. I couldn't. There was no way at the time. I was working, running the nonprofit, trying to fish in tournaments, and trying to do lives all the time, and I got overwhelmed. I just it ended up where lives were taken away from me doing FX3 things, and that was toxic to me as far as that goes. Because at the end of the day, and a lot of people, I've heard some people say like whatever, but I care less whether I make it big in the professional angling status. If I can save one life doing what I do, that is worth it more to me than any payday, any check that I'll cut in a tournament. Because saving lives is that's all that's what I want to do. If I can stop one person from committing suicide every time or once a year or whatever, if I can save a life, and by far that's all I want to
Even better. Oh, all right, MJ. Let's talk a little some tactics, some tackling. What's your favorite thing to throw?
do. Ooh, so very favorite number one bait is buzzbait. By far one of the funnest baits. And I'll tell you who makes a really good buzz bait. He don't sponsor me. I buy these baits just like everybody else. Is Derek Herring. When he was selling the BHO, those turbo buzz baits,
Mm-hmm.
those things with the clacker were phenomenal baits. Um,
I've got a few.
I,
Body
yeah,
Hunter Outdoors.
I still got a couple myself. Um, Other than that, I throw the Booyah buzz bait with the clacker. That's a staple for me. My second all time favorite is punching in deep, thick grass mats. Um, if I can find some clumped up grass or some really thick vegetation, you better bet I'm gonna be there putting a sinker. I'll put an ounce and a half, 2 ounce in there. Um, I'll say the name. They do sponsor me, but Reaction Innovations. I either throw a sweet beaver, spicy beaver, and I'm punching in that mat. And I've caught tons and tons of large fish. Shallow water, just tucked up under a mat, especially in Florida. It gets so hot here. I mean, we're starting to warm up now, and water temps are still in the low 70s. But in another couple months, the water temps will be in the 90s here. So those fish are going to hunt shade. Thus the reason grass mats, lily pads, like really thick lily pads, those areas will be phenomenal. My third probably is square bill. I love a square bill, especially like going up to Watts Bar. You start getting away a little bit from underwater vegetation. You start finding rocks and stuff like that. Running a square bill down some rocks. I don't know what it is about that. Is you feel it hit the rock and you pause and then boom, your line's running off. And I love that style of fishing. Next is probably a jerk bait. I'd say number 4 would be definitely some type of jerk bait. Rapala or Berkeley makes some good jerk baits. Usually, my favorite probably is, and God, they're expensive. Everything's expensive, but Mega Bass, not sponsored by one whatsoever. I paid $25 just like you guys. But the Mega Bass 110 and 110 Plus, those jerk baits are phenomenal. So that's down to 5 baits. After that, I'm gonna go wacky rig. That's something I don't really. I got it in my arsenal. It's there, but I'm not. I'm not David Dudley. I will not throw it every day. Um, then we're going Texas rig. I do like to throw Texas rig, but I throw it just about as much as I do a wacky. Probably should throw it more. Maybe I'd be better. I don't know. But I'll Texas rig a crawl or a Cinco or something like that. So rounding that up, then we hit the baits that I hardly ever throw. Spinner baits, great baits, and I've caught fish on them. but it's just not something that I have a lot of confidence in. Then we go drop shot, of course. I can't stand a drop shot. It works. I once again caught fish on it, but it's not. If you see a drop shot on the deck of my boat, or if you see the drop shot and the wacky rig on the front, no, I have nothing in the live well because I've struggled. It's been that bad of a day. I got a buddy of mine that fishes on the Toyota Series with me, and gives me a hard time because if I come to and he sees me come to weigh in and I got like 20 rods on the deck, he's like, "Oh, you struggled." But and sometimes I'll mess with him before I make the run, and I'll just leave one rod on the deck, or maybe I've had a good day, but so he won't know. I come up one day and I had one rod on the deck, and he goes, "No." I was like, "Yeah, bro," and I had like 5 pounds, but he thought I just raped him.
No, I tell Tim, then he agrees with me because I know his answer. There are 2 types of bass anglers: those who fish a Cinco and those who lie about it. It
Yeah.
works. It works. I don't know what to tell you. It works.
It does work.
It's
And like once again, matter of fact, I got a good friend of mine. He told me he was going to tune in, but he might have got tied up. He has been in the back of my boat and waxed me on a Cinco with a 16th ounce bullet weight and just tore me up. I'm grinding, trying to catch fish. He's catching 6-pounders behind me on a Cinco. I go to a Cinco, don't catch anything. So it's like, all right, I give up.
Yeah, we did. One of my top 3 or 4 videos now is you might know him from Twitter, Chris Summerall.
Yeah.
We did a meetup a couple years back. We've actually met up 3 times, but we did a meetup a couple years back over on the lake he lives on, and I borrowed his brother-in-law's kayak and fished against him in his setup kayak on his own lake. And they just weren't in the mood to chase that day. They were looking for real finesse and real slow. So I wacky rigged a stick bait. I think it was a Yum Dinger. It's what I had in my pack at the time. Threw it out there, free weighted it, just let it sink under the lily pads, and crushed him. So
Yeah. I have gone to the wacky rig several times, especially like you said when it's finesse or really really good clear water, something like that. Is a very powerful finesse type of fishing. But if I do, it's you definitely know that I'm definitely not comfortable in my way in. So, and I've caught
What's
good
your
bags on the way. But
what's your personal best, MJ?
my personal best 5 fish 23.17. So 23, almost 23 and a quarter.
What's your
On
personal
5.
best single fish?
10.98. I weighed that thing 3 times
What?
trying to get it to 11. 10.98. I weighed it 3 times to try to get it to 11 pounds. Maybe I should have pulled on the tail just a little bit. Couldn't break the 11 pound, but 10.98 exactly. And like I said, weighed it 3 times. I was like, come on, it's gonna. I dipped it back in the water one time, just joking around. Tried to weigh it again, and it was 10.98 no matter what I did. So I was like, I give up.
It's like once they get 9, they don't get 10 so easy.
Yeah.
But I don't have anywhere near that. 5 is mine in largemouth. My largemouth and my smallmouth is bigger than my PB largemouth. I've got a 6 smallmouth. That's pretty good smallmouth.
That's a big one, yeah. So, funny story, my PB smallmouth up until Kentucky this past time, even though I didn't catch a scoreable fish, I caught a 17.5-inch smallmouth that weighed like 3.5 pounds. That was my PB right there. But they had to be 18 inches for the tournament, and 18-inch smallmouths a toad. These 17.5ers, I caught several 15s, 16s, couple 17s, but that one 17.5, I was like, man, I tried to I was wishing my board, my bump board would stretch it a little. I could shrink it a little bit, stretch the fish, something. But yeah, 3.5 pounds that joker. I was amazed. Up and before that was Neely Henry, and I caught like a pound and a half or something like that. That was my biggest smallmouth. So
I
yeah,
think I would say pound for pound, smallmouth is the hardest fighting fish out there.
I think so too. I do agree. I agree with you there. I know smallmouth is really a good fighting fish. The only reason I'm not really sure is a lot of largemouth you're catching on heavier tackle, heavier line. A lot of smallmouth fishing that I've done. Now maybe a little different, but it's 6 pound fluorocarbon. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
using a real light tackle with largemouth. I mean, like I can boat flip 6 pounders on 65 pound braid. So I don't feel like I feel like you do have to finesse smallmouth a lot more. It just seems like they're, but I do feel like they fight. I wondered if you were able to catch them both the same on the same setup, say 20 pound fluorocarbon or 18, 17, whatever, a heavier fluorocarbon. If you could catch them both, a 6 pound largemouth with a 6 pound smallmouth, surprise you? Or do we think they fight more because we're using lighter tackle? We can't horse it.
I think they fight more because they're most areas that you catch smallmouth in, they're used to fighting current, so
Yeah.
they
All
get to
right.
be. A smallmouth is a stronger swimmer than a largemouth, and I live in real clearer water, high pressured areas. Like where I live now, the fourth largest lake in fifth largest lake with Lake Erie, but the fifth largest lake then in Pennsylvania is 5,300 acres, I think, near me, called Mockamixon, and it's a 20 horsepower limit, and
All
it's
right.
highly pressured, clear deep water. It's they dammed the Tahican Creek to make it, so I'm not throwing 80-pound braid and pulling them out of stained water and heavy
Right.
cover. I've got a six maybe 8 pound fluorocarbon leader on.
Right.
So, and I'm pulling 4 pound largemouth out and doing okay at it. Especially if you're not a bank fisherman. If you're pulling them out into the open water, you can fight them. And I've had, excuse me, I've had a. It's taken me more time to land, say, a 3 pound smallmouth than it has or a 2 pound smallmouth than it has a 4 pound largemouth.
Yeah, I got you. Like I said, I mean that's just something I'm not exposed to. I'm more of a largemouth guy. Everybody, we were making jokes the other day when we go to Michigan. One of the guys on the tour told me that I'll probably be the only guy that'll catch a bag of largemouth every day. Everybody else will have mixed bags, smallmouth, largemouth, and I'll be the dude that every day I'm going to have 5 largemouth because that's just me. I love largemouth fishing. I'm better at it, so I'll be that guy that can go to Saginaw Bay and crush largemouth.
And if you've ever seen them in water, you look at a largemouth, and a largemouth, a lot of times they'll just sit here like that,
Yeah,
maybe just barely move their gills back and forth, waiting on bait to swim by. When a smallmouth, they stay in a column like this.
yeah, right.
They're they're constantly swimming, so I think they get stronger fighting the current and
Yeah,
constantly swimming.
makes sense. So,
I will also say this, and people never believe me, but with that body shape, it's because they don't get big, is why you're able to reel them in. If a bluegill got to be 10 pounds, he'd never come ashore.
have you seen the
He,
world record bluegill that was like 6 pounds?
no,
Have you
I
saw?
probably had, but
Oh my! I say 6 pounds. It was like 5. I mean, might as well say 6. But I mean, this dude's holding it up, and he's got both his hands like this, and it's hanging off both his hands.
like
I mean,
they take him 20 minutes to land it.
I was really sad when I saw the article because the guy pretty much, yeah, one of those guys that's not a camera savvy person. Yeah, I caught him fishing a worm. And that was pretty much it. Didn't talk about the fight. Like, I really wanted to hear him like, oh man, I had this Zebco 33 just getting the gears stripped out of it. Something. Yeah, caught him. Worm.
I think the world record catfish is like on a Zepco 202 or something like that with 10-pound test. Something, you
So
know.
my very first, my largest bass when I was a teenager fishing with my dad was a 6.5 pound largemouth. I caught on a Zebco 33, a Walmart Shakespeare rod with 8 pound test. On a 6 inch, used to be a company called Renegade that made a curl tail worm, and it was a solid black worm with a fire tail, like a pink red tail.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never forget that. I'm 15 years old. I'm just really getting into bass fishing. I grew up fishing. I grew up around freshwater, saltwater my whole life. And I felt this tunk. I was like, oh man, set the hook. So my dad's like, oh, you got a mudfish. And by the time this fish starts dancing, he's like, give me the pole. I'm like, shit, no. I'm not giving you the pole. This is my deal. But yeah, it took forever to land that fish. It took so long that finally that fish just pretty much gave up and was like, all right, the hook's not coming out, and it swam up on its side. I mean, literally, I tired that fish completely out. Never forget that in my life. That was in Boone's Lake on the Satilla River, and I'm talking about backwoods Georgia, southeast Georgia, close to the Florida line, and probably 6 foot of water and a gorgeous fishery. If it was navigable by big boats, I'd go there all the time, move there. But there's so many underwater stumps. It's a lot of shallow area, so my big bass boat just won't cut it there. But a gorgeous fishery. If you're ever in that area, southeast Georgia, you get some time to fish. Satilla River. I plan on doing some actually footage there this year. I want to hit the Satilla up, get a smaller boat, and go out there and see if I can't hammer some good footage. Because, like I said, it's there's not a ton of pressure. It's one of them places. I'm used to, like you're talking about, heavy pressure. All these fisheries I'm around, well, they get a ton of pressure. You know, the Tackle Warehouse Pro Circuit just left a Harris chain. You know, and Okeechobee has usually a 150, 200 boat tournament every weekend. So we get
What's up,
tons. Buddy? Oh, there's old Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
But so a lot of the lakes, tons of pressure. So yeah, I get that. I would love to find a honey hole, and to me, in the back of my mind, I could be wrong, but places like that on the Satilla and the Altamaha River there in Georgia don't get as much pressure as we see here and other larger fisheries. So.
Hey Jeff, what's going on, Pond buddy? How you doing? Hey, how's that new fishing buddy doing, man? Congratulations again. They had their first baby last year.
That's right. Yep. You know, this joker, when I gave away a rod called the Red Rod. Remember, everyone deployed and growing like a weed. This joker won that thing. That rod, first time I put it in my hands, I was like, oh my God. And then I decided to give it away, trying to raise awareness of suicide. You still got that rod, Jeff? Still working for you?
There's a little bit of a delay, so. All right. So, what are your favorite places that you've been thus far? If you had a list of your top 5, what's your top 5 bass fishing?
My number one, and this is probably a staple in Florida, Okeechobee. If you haven't, yeah, there you go. Still going strong in this topwater ride. But yeah, Okeechobee. The great thing about Okeechobee is it's a very versatile lake. You can run fish up shallow, flipping reeds. You can punch grass mats. You can also work some offshore or grass areas. You can find hydrilla. There's rim ditches that kind of give you the creek feel. There's creeks that do feed into it. So Okeechobee, definitely my number one. My number 2 spot is probably Guntersville, Alabama. Love the place. I love the way it to me reminds me a lot of Okeechobee in the fact that it's very versatile. It's got a lot of different areas for different types of fishing, and I love fishing areas like that. Granted, I have my favorite baits, but I like going to places, especially if I get to pleasure fish in these places. I'm loving life because I'm not trying to grind out a good limit. I'm just trying to have fun, and anywhere I can go, from throwing a deep water crankbait to a top water bait, is money in my book. So that versatility to be able to fish, that's what I like about Guntersville. I'd say number three is probably going to be Hartwell. Um, Lake Hartwell, it's it's in South Carolina. Um, some beautiful water. There's some clear water. There's some stained water like we have in Florida. Um, there's also like the swim jig is usually on fire in Hartwell. I left that off of my baits earlier. That's in my top five. A swim jig. I've usually got at least a quarter ounce, 3/8, and or three sixteenths quarter, and usually a half ounce to a 3/4 ounce swim jig. Always tied on, always ready to go. I love pitching a swim jig up in grass, running grass, hydrilla, and run around reeds and dog fennels and stuff like that. So I did leave that off earlier. So number four, I'm going to go with my very first Bassmaster Open fishing as a co-angler. I fished Neely Henry. That's kind of it's Alabama-ish, Tennessee-ish area. The Neely Henry Dam, gorgeous water. It had a lot of clear water. Then you had like some back creek areas. Once again, a versatile fishery. Something that my first day pro I fished with, he was running like this backwater creek and running like a buzz bait, which was like I said, I love a buzz bait. And then my next day pro, he's running offshore with deep diving crankbaits. So I thought that was really neat. Got to see other sides of the spectrum. And probably rounding off number five, I'm going to go out to Sam Rayburn, Texas. I would put it probably higher if I lived closer, but Sam Rayburn, that area in Texas, Lake Fork, Sam Rayburn area, just monster bass in those areas. But I just like the way Sam Rayburn lays out a lot better. It's got once again, it's got some deep water, it's got some shallow water, it's got stumps, and just to me beautiful. I guess that kind of winds it down. If I started going in the top 10, then I'm kind of spreading out. Then I might go like Lake of the Ozarks over Missouri. That's a beautiful area, and I probably would like it better if I caught more fish there. But
I've only seen it on Netflix.
I've been there, and trust me, I drove 20 something hours to get there, fished there for 2 days, caught like 2 fish. It's like, this place sucks. But then again, like I said, if I'd have went there and caught 100, then I'd be like, oh, that's number 2. So, but beautiful area. So.
Jeff has got some good lakes in his area too.
He's in Kentucky, right?
Yeah, Kentucky. Kentucky and Tennessee share a lot of lakes.
Yeah. Well, we were in Burnside, Kentucky, which is just on the other side you go through Tennessee through Tennessee to get there. Sorry. Like I said, I worked in bombs. Not the smartest guy, but yeah, you went through Tennessee, and it was like just out of Tennessee, you get into Burnside, Kentucky. That's where we fished this last tournament, Lake Cumberland. Once again, that was a beautiful fishery. Loved it.
I fished there as well. Cumberland, Barkley, Kentucky, Del Hollow. I grew up on Del
Hollow. What a beautiful area. I totally wasn't even thinking about that. We're going through that in my head. Yeah, Del Hollow. I like that. I like that. Been there twice. But it seems like both times didn't catch like a 10-pounder or 8-pounder, but caught like a lot of 4s. 3.5, 4 pounders. So really solid.
Okay. I have an idea. I grew up about 40 minutes from it, the Tennessee
Really
side. Yeah. Del Hollow
nice.
runs through both Tennessee and Kentucky.
Right, right.
Now,
Nice.
officially, Kentucky has the world record smallmouth. Of course, everybody from Tennessee will tell you that he was actually fishing the Tennessee side. He just said he was fishing the Kentucky side because he didn't have a Tennessee license. You know?
Oh man.
And there is some controversy if that's the actual smallmouth world record because the era it was caught, you know, it weighed 12 pounds on like some butcher scale or something. It wasn't officially weighted back then. So my home lake is Hurricane. It's the deepest in Kentucky too. I cannot imagine fishing 249 feet.
Oh yeah. Oh, look at there. Old Drazzle
What's
showed
up,
up.
Tim? Fine, I'm here for a minute.
I know I
What's
texted
up,
him.
Tim? Oh, I need that watch time, man. I'm losing my job. I'm trying to not have to go back to work.
Dude, so I was telling my buddy today, I was talking to him and he was working. And I told him, I said, man, when you retire, every day is Saturday. Because I was like,
Mm,
man, what day is it? He's like, it's Thursday. I'm like, oh, okay, Saturday. Like,
yeah, that's rough, buddy.
mm,
Watching you guys while painting a little. Okay, cool.
you're doing
Appreciate it.
stellar on those boats, those baits, man. He's really becoming an
Yeah, I saw that
artiste.
last one. Yeah.
Trying to pick up where old Marty's left over. You know, Marty's was a good bait painter. I
Mm.
haven't heard from him in a long time. Oh,
Uh-oh.
nice. Yeah, I'll be up
Y'all
there.
living
I'll be at Tim's house on Saturday. So
there? Y'all live near each other?
about 4 hours.
Mm. Ain't bad.
Tim just sold me a boat, so that's what I'm talking about, running the Ranger. So I'll actually keeping this boat in the family, so to speak. Taking it to fish the MLF Toyota Series and the MPFL in South Carolina. So if it sucks, I'm gonna give it back.
You gonna make the classic this year?
Are you talking
Not
about
fishing it,
just
right? Just
visit?
go, yeah. Yeah.
It really all depends. I'm gonna try.
I think it's
I'll
in
definitely.
Tennessee again, right?
Yeah. What about ICAST? Do you ever make ICAST? You ever come down to ICAST here in
You
Orlando?
got me. You got to be invited to ICAST. I never been
Really?
invited.
I'll invite you.
You can invite me to ICAST.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't care. I'll tell one of my sponsors, like, yeah, this guy right here, he towed me one day in a tournament. That's the only reason I finished in the spot I did. Whatever. I don't care. We'll figure something out. I'll get you an invite though.
Cool.
I mean, you want to make a thing out of it? We'll even fish the fundraiser, the ICAST Cup. It's a little 4 hour
Okay.
shootout.
I have to practice. I haven't tournament fished in so long. Since high school on a boat.
Wow.
It's been a while.
Oh yeah, Tim. Super excited. Yeah. So crazy thing blew my motor up with the way we were talking about supply and demand earlier. You know, the earliest that I'm looking at getting a new motor probably close to the end of the year. Mercury is so backlogged. There were some dealerships told me a 13-month waiting period. So I I was stressing. You know, luckily a good friend of mine had a boat that I was able to use for a little bit, but then it wasn't a permanent fix. And then just so happened Tim's getting rid of a Ranger, and I was like, "Hey man, let me buy that off of you," and boom. So I'm gonna drive over to his house Saturday. Him and his wife Corey hooking me up, man. You ever get a chance to visit Tim, you got to. His wife is a phenomenal cook. I'm talking about when I fished the Toyota Series last year on Seminole. She made like shrimp and grits one night. We had like homemade tacos. I mean, I don't know.
We
I went and fished, but I think I just gained weight. I considered myself an angler with an eating problem because her food was just so good.
we had discussed this last week, me and Tim, but evidently, life. Evidently, me and Tim live about 5 years apart. He's invited me for 5 years, and I have yet to make it.
I tell you what you need to do is when I finish stapling down the pineapple tattoo tour that me and him where it's me versus him, you should try to make it down for that. We'll make it a big event. Try to because I want to make it a cookout. I want to do a cookout for homeless. I want to raise awareness of suicide. Kind of make it a family fun, friendly event. Good competition. Um, and once again, it's kind of unite people. I mean, that's one of the things like I talked about earlier, and we were talking about earlier. Is as a nation, we're so divided now. You know, I can't have a different belief than a certain person, or they can't. It feels like everything's either politics, or if you don't believe me, then whatever. But
I can't.
I
I can't do
tried
it
it.
anymore, man. I can't even listen to it anymore. Like,
You can't.
remember when we all used to talk about different shit?
I remember when you didn't see a political post on Twitter that you could go on Twitter and you could talk about fishing, you could talk about your day, but now I swear, and sometimes I'm guilty of it because I'll watch the news like an idiot and I'll get fired up about some topic I just watched about that has nothing to do with my life, but I get so enthralled with politics and then, I rant. But yeah, I just want to get back to us just, man. See, Tim's dreaming, I like Tim, but Tim's got his, he has his Alzheimer's moments. You probably still don't
I
even.
I don't know, MJ. I don't know. I know for a fact Tim ain't scared of the Cinco.
Oh, he's not. But you know what? The problem with him is now he ain't fishing so long. He probably forgot how to cast the bait cast.
I've never been that great with one.
Really?
Ever.
Oh man,
I mean, I can do it. I'll fish with them. I'll fish them. But like I was telling you a while ago, though, like everything up here is highly pressured, clear water. So I end up finesse fishing more than anything. And you can't finesse, bait casting,
really.
finesse fishing.
I throw a wacky rig on my bait cast.
Can't do it. I'll backlash every time because
Oh
I
man,
throw it weightless.
I throw it weightless too.
Right? I'll
I,
backlash every time, guaranteed.
I can show you a setup that's works for me for years. And this, once again, not a sponsored company. I'm a Ducket guy. Quantum's my reels. Ducket's my rods. But I use a Shimano. It's called a Chaos or Caius, however you pronounce that. A medium action casting rod.
Yes.
Yeah, something like that. Kis or however you pronounce it. But check it out. Medium action rod with a 6/8-1 bait caster. I can cast that wacky weightless just as far as you can cast it on a spinning combo. Had a buddy didn't believe me, he lost $100.
Hey, Kelly. All right, Jeff. Relax, okay? I can use one. I'm just saying I'm not as good at it as other people. I can use one. I do use one. I have an Abu Garcia. That's what I use. I have Abu Garcia, not Black Max. It's the one above it now. I replaced the Black Max reel with the
Silver Max?
Silver Max, Ultra Max.
Yeah, the Abu Garcia makes a really good, a really affordable reel. I
Yeah.
tell you another company that is affordable, and I say this a lot, but I guess I'm used to it when I'm talking to the camera, but I'm not sponsored by them. There's a company called Cast King. They make a very affordable rod reels. I've got a couple of their combos. Especially with the way I give away the rods and reels to the veterans. So I obviously can't get everybody a quantum smoke with a ducket combo. So I have to, go to something more affordable. And yeah, man, I picked up some Cass King stuff and phenomenal.
Now, have you emailed some of these companies with your giveaways of extra stuff? Because Lose supports a lot of veterans programs.
They do. You'll find a lot of companies more want to because of the way social media is, and what kind of gets muddled now is the pro staff position with a lot of companies, because pro staff nowadays is more promotional staff than it is anything, unless you're Kevin Van Dam or yeah. So you're not. I mean, so a lot of these companies, yep, they offer good discounts, but yeah, Lose is another good company. I have fished with a couple Lose combos. The main reason I went with Quantum Reels is for the longest time all I got was a discount. But I mean, for the price at one point in time, you could get a Quantum, like their bottom line Quantum, you could pick up for $30. That reel would last me a couple years, and I'm beating it up, throwing it on a buzzbait or something. Now like the Quantum Smoke, now everything's kind of went up, but Quantum Smokes and what's that, Quantum Escalade, those kind of get up in the $200 range. They're phenomenal reels though. So they've been a good supporter of me, and then once we went to starting to sponsor me as an angler, that kind of sold me, and so now that's just I love Quantum, so I'm gonna throw Quantum all day. But I still throw other combos, and it's nothing against them. Like I said, it was mentioned that Shimano setup. You got. If we ever get together and fish, I will let you touch it. That's my coveted wacky rig stick. That's all it's ever thrown. It's all it knows. But it's 8-pound fluorocarbon, all fluorocarbon on that setup, and I can toss it 100 yards. I say 100 yards. It's really far.
I only use fluorocarbon as a lead material.
Yeah. So what do you use? You braid the fluorocarbon?
Yeah, with a mono back. So,
how long a leader?
10 foot.
I tried to do, and what I was taught really was double length of the rod. So I'll reel in my fluorocarbon until it's touching the reel on the spool if I'm running a leader, and then I'll run it to the butt of the rod, and that'll be like a double length of the rod, and that's about what I do. I do throw a lot of leaders, but in Florida, I'm afforded the privilege of being able to throw straight braid a lot of areas. So.
Yeah, nah, I'm not.
Yeah,
I don't have areas I can throw straight braid. There's one lake. They call it a lake. I wouldn't call it a lake really, but it's got it's a county lake. Really, the only way to really fish it well is in a kayak, electric motor only. But it's got a invasive aquatic vegetation in it, Japanese water almond or water chestnut or something like that.
Yeah.
And it just covers the whole lake, and the root system on that thing is like gnarly because it's like a pineapple. Like a pineapple, ironically. The outside of a pineapple, and it's about that big around.
Huh.
Like you get hung up in it, you're pulling the kayak and popping it off. You're not pulling the hook out.
Wow. One of my buddies wanted me to give him a shout out. So my buddy Kevin Timms, he's watching. Good guy, good angler. He's also on the MPFL. He's sitting there texting me because he didn't want to comment, but he's texting me. He's heckling me, I guess. He told me to say elite rods are the best, but that's not true at all.
Hey, feel free to comment, man. It actually helps my algorithm. YouTube comments is what the YouTube algorithm picks up on. So.
Oh, nice. Yeah, Kevin and a guy named Josh McDermott, they were my roommates in Kentucky. Josh ended up finishing second place there, cutting that $25,000 check. And then Kevin tried to say he was a a spot ahead of me, but we both didn't catch any scoreable fish, so we're pretty much tied right now. So,
What's
he's watching us on TV. Not he's watching us through his TV, not on his computer.
No. Okay, no problem. Hey, if you get if your buddy gets a chance, though, do me a favor when he's done, go and hit the thumbs up for me. That helps. It helps.
All right, we'll get him to.
I hate asking for stuff like that, but YouTube.
Hey, man. Yeah, they like it. Like you said, you're trying to not, are you trying to do this full time? Like, start running your own live? And
if anybody ever offered me that job, I'm going to take it. That's not, I don't like punching somebody else's clock. That's just what I got to do.
Yeah. So are you looking for sponsors, or have you been out soliciting sponsors to promote your podcast?
Nah, not really. Because I don't really do like videos and even fishing tournaments or something like that. I just kind of make my own content. I just film whatever. All right. I just film whatever I'm doing at the time. So, like, I do a lot of different types of fishing. If you look at my channel, I've caught
right. I have, yeah.
And so, like, in 2 weeks, trout will open here. That's a big that'll take up some time and some filming, and then we have seasons and we have rules here too that prevent me from doing like some of the things. Like, we can't tournament fish where I'm at until June 10th, I think.
Wow. Well, yeah, because it's frozen, right?
No, it's not. It's not frozen in May. It's not frozen now, but because we can't tournament fish and we can't sight fish when they're on spawn. You can't fish for bass on bed here. It's illegal.
Wow.
Also, can't hunt on Sunday.
Really?
Yeah. Can't hunt on Sundays.
Man, that would be a game changer in Florida if you could not fish spawning bass. Because, in Florida, because of the temperature swings that we have, you pretty much have bass spawning all year round in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen fish on beds in September, which is wild, to think. But because of the weather swings we have, these fish sometimes just get really confused. But that would be a game changer.
Yeah, it would be different, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can't imagine, especially when they do get in the spawn here in Florida. If you're not bed fishing, you're trying to pick up a dink here and there that you're going to find just some random wandering fish. But, man, that would be rough.
It's actually funny because that particular rule is written funny because it says there's a lot of technical to the rule. It's worded. And the way it's worded is you can't make repeated cast to a fish on bed that you can see. So, if they're a bycatch or an accidental catch. And then even the bycatch or an accidental catch is supposedly you're not supposed to take them out of the water. Like, I'm like, how you want me to get the hook out, man? That's just...
Yeah. And how are you supposed to know? How do you know that?
Yeah.
If you didn't see the bed, this fish came off the bed. Was he holding a sign up when he gets close to the boat? Yeah. That's interesting.
And then, because I think Chris asked me one time, what would I do if the warden saw me catch a bass, or want to give me a ticket for catching a bass during the off season or the spawn or whatever? What would I do with it? And I said, well, that depends on how big. Double digits, man. You just start writing the ticket. I'll be with you in a minute.
For real.
Let me get some pictures here. I gotta get this fiberglass mount ready.
Yeah. Oh, I'm with you. That's like, I'll tell you why.
Here, hold this.
I have the utmost respect. I think it was John Cruz this year. on the St. Johns River, and he caught a fish on bed. and it wasn't hooked inside the mouth, just on the outside of the mouth, but the fish obviously hit it. But he literally didn't try to weigh it. It's like, oh, no, he's hooked, and threw him back like a nice 6.5, 7-pounder. In the Bassmaster tournament, that's huge. And so, granted, maybe his marshal was going to say something, but he didn't give him a chance. I thought that was kind of, that to me, that would be hard. Like you said, I mean, I'd be like, well, I mean,
you saw him hit it.
Yeah, he's hooked in the mouth, and maybe not on the inside. So, Kevin there, Southern Bass up north there, I have a nickname, and I'm not really sure if I want to disclose this or not. It's not pornographic, but I'm called Fat Jesus. I have long hair. Apparently, I look like an overweight version of the Christian God, and that's his thing. No, I didn't learn how to walk on water. He knows. Funny story. When I was talking about earlier, in Florida, we're not used to a 20-foot drop next to the bank. So we get up there on Tuesday. It's nasty weather. And I go practice. It's the last day of practice we can get. So I go to an area I've never put in the boat, but I'm checking it out for the tournament day, wondering what's going to happen. And I put down my power poles, 2 10-foot poles, no problem. Get off the boat, go park my truck. I'm walking back to my boat, and it's drifting off the bank. And I'm like, oh, no worries. It's 4 foot off the bank. This is nothing. I step off to grab the boat, and I hit a 17-foot hole. It dropped straight down. So in 40-degree water or weather, it's raining, miserable, I took a swim. I did not know how to walk on water that day. So I baptized myself in Buck Creek there on Lake Cumberland. Oh, miserable day. I still can't believe it dropped off that much. Less than 5 feet from the water, and it just straight down. Insult to injury, when I got back, there was a local fishing on the bank right there with live bait. And I was like, man, fishing right there. Huh? He said, oh, yeah, there's like a 20-foot hole right here. I was like, yeah, I've been there.
All right, MJ. Let's ask you a few questions here. I used to do these. Like I said, I did these before FFN started doing them. I knew all that Twitter family. I met Tim there. I've actually met Tim in real life, just not at his lake house yet. So
okay,
that's going to happen. That's going to happen, Tim. We're going to make that happen somehow. But me and Tim met at the Bassmaster Classic the last time I was in Tennessee at Fort Loudon.
Oh, okay.
Is it at Fort Loudon again this year? Is it at Loudon?
I can't remember.
I think it might be at Loudon. Tim, do you know? But anyway, so since I've done these before, though, I've had COVID and I've got a little bit of that brain fog, so I don't remember everything I used to ask. So I went back and watched a couple of these before, including the one that Tim was like one of my first guests. He was like after Frank and Sonny and them. He's like second or third, I think. But that when he almost got arrested. So so if you go back and watch that, but so I went back and I watched some of these. I'm like, man, I used to be a lot better at this. So one of the first questions I would always ask everybody is, and I think this one really applies to you with what you do. Why do you fish, and how did you start fishing?
Well, that's a really good question, actually. I fish just for passion. I mean, being out on the water to me is one of the most therapeutic times. I can have one of the worst days of my life, and I can get out on the water, and it's just me. And that's what I've incorporated in FX3, and and what I do with veteran suicide. I didn't just start FX3 Incorporated to save lives. FX3 and fishing actually saved my life. I used to be that veteran. I was that veteran that had just ready to quit, ready to give up. And I'll never forget this day in my life. And the guy's name is Mark. If he wants to be known, when he watches this, he can comment, say his name. But I'm at a gas pump one day, and I'd lost my brother. I lost him in 2014. This is probably December, January of 2015, like the end of 2014, beginning of 2015. And I was ready to quit. And this guy, I for no reason, Mark comes up to my window, knocks on it, and says, "Sir, are you okay?" And I don't know why, and he told me later, but I didn't know why at the time. And I was like, man, I just really I've had a rough day. And he says, "Do you like to fish?" And I was like, man, at this time, I'd gotten out of the military, I'd quit fishing, concentrating on career and family and stuff, and didn't even, just take time to fish. And I said, yeah, I haven't done it in years. So he's like, man, hands me a piece of paper with his address on it. He's like, come to my house the next day, and we'll get on the boat and we'll go out fishing. And he says, you good? And I told him, I was like, yeah, all right. I mean, totally, that was it. All I wanted was somebody to hear me, somebody I could talk to. And we got out on the water, and I remember at one point in time, I'm making cast after cast, and he just sits down in the seat and starts talking. He didn't care about fishing. The guy, he's telling me about how he is a veteran, he's an older gentleman. He had been in the Vietnam War, and talking about how fishing was so therapeutic. And we ended up 2 hours probably of that trip, didn't cast a rod, and just talked. I cried. I'm not too proud to admit, or too much of a manly man to admit I cried. I came home, though, and my wife had saw such a drastic change in me. She was like, and I get it. Had been so gloomy, and she's like, are you on drugs? I'm smiling, I'm glowing, I'm happy. She's like, what is going on? You're so, the total 180 from where I was. And I know for a fact, if it wasn't for that day, that I wouldn't be here. You can call it divine intervention. You can, the world saying, hey, it's not your time. However you want to slice that up. So that's my original thing, how FX3 was. And then I started fishing. I started bringing my wife fishing. And I got to the point after I lost my brother, because my brother was a retired Marine. I was Army. And if I had a bad day, I could call my brother up. That was my ear. That was my outlet. I could vent. And when I lost that, I didn't realize, I had a wife, I got mom and dad, I got other friends I can talk to, but there's something about being able to talk to another veteran. And so when I lost that, that's where I was. I just felt so alone. And FX3 has allowed me to show other veterans that you're not alone. Always somebody here. So why I fish, it's life-changing. It has saved my life. Why do I continue to fish? Same thing. I want to save as many lives as I can. How did I start? I started, funny story, with my uncle. I was 5 or 6 years old, and it's crazy how you remember stuff later in life. My mom has told me this story a million times, but I'm 5 or 6 years old. Me and my uncle were fishing on the Satilla River, and we're bait fishing. We're fishing, back then, dinner. We're fishing for catfish and perch and stuff. I remember him putting like a worm or something, and I'm like just banging this worm and cork around the bank, and he's like, "Stop it! You're not gonna catch anything." And by the time I caught like a 2-pound bass, and he goes, so he baits me back up, and he's like, "Do it again, do it again, do it again." And I was like, I've heard that story a million times. That's one of the best. And now my uncle, he passed away 5-6 years ago, but I'll never forget those moments of growing up with him and him taking me out on the water. Because at the time, when I grew up, until I was probably 15, 16, my dad he had been an outdoorsman, but he didn't fish that much. So my uncle was kind of the guy that kind of steered me into fishing. And that's how I started back young, 5, 6 years old. And then I left it when I joined the military and started traveling around. I quit fishing for a while and didn't really develop the passion again until the end of 2014, beginning of 2015. And since then, it's been, you know, like I said, a game changer. And then 2019, I came up with the idea of FX3, and that has been I I've had people tell me that's been a lifesaver for them. So if I can continue to push this forward, I'll fish till I hope I take my last breath. So
All right. That's one of the better answers we ever had, man.
well, thank you. It's
Yeah.
definitely it's crazy. It's just how I mean, and now it's a dream. Now I fish on a professional tour. I have a lot of great guys, even though really don't like Kevin that much. But no, seriously, a lot of great guys on that tour. I mean, heck, a lot of hammers, man. Taylor Watkins, Brad Knight, even Josh McDermott, freaking Sheldon Collins. There's some great pros on this tour. Very honored to fish it, and hopefully Tim joins me next season. So
Yeah, I think Tim's been itching to get back on tour.
oh, definitely. I miss him, man. We used to fish the BFLs and Toyota series, and I miss being able to talk smack to him all the time. And it's really shrunk now. Most of the locals, like his son Matt, he's a hammer, but now he's fishing the collegiate series, and so he's not there anymore. And yeah, I became a loner for the most part. Yeah, I used to talk a lot of trash to Tim. He's beat me in the majority of tournaments, but I still used to talk smack to him.
You ever on tour? Do you ever get up this way, New
Um,
Jersey, Pennsylvania area?
we don't have anything this year. Last year, I think they were up around New York. Um, but who
Champlain.
knows what this yet? Yeah, I'm sure somewhere around there, or either that or what's Oneida or whatever, upstate New York.
Mm-hmm.
But if I ever do, definitely. I know that the Toyota series, actually the Northern, they fish somewhere around Virginia, so that's not horribly far away from you.
No, a few hours.
Yeah, I know they fish around the Potomac. I've seen them being on the. Oh yeah. Sandusky definitely will be the closest I get to you this year in Ohio.
That's on the other side of the state.
Yeah.
Dusky, Sandusky. What lake is that on Sandusky?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Is it one of the Erie tributaries?
I think so. Let's see here. I'm sure Kevin, you could comment and tell me exactly where it is.
Erie? You're fishing
Erie,
Erie?
yeah.
Yeah. I fished Erie. I did a walleye trip on Erie last year, or year before, 2020, I think. Because it was as far west as we could go. That trip was as far as we could travel and not cross state lines, because that was during the pandemic when we weren't
Oh,
allowed to cross state lines during travel.
yeah.
What's up, Wild Man? Or Gumpa?
Oh, yeah. CEK.
Good to see you again.
Gumpa's the one that made the red rod. I don't know if you remember that when I done that giveaway. But yeah, Gumpa's the one that made that. Phenomenal. I don't even know why I gave. I guess I drink too much because I gave away that rod. Should have never gave it to Jeff. So
Yeah, I had Gumpa on a live one time. Back when he was
phenomenal
Gumpa.
guy. And when he
Yeah.
and his rods he built were tanks, man. I mean, he could rival with some of the best companies. So, and I get it. I think the expense got too much. I get that, man.
I'm sure it does. Like, I'm sure there are a lot. Like, I remember talking to him, and I'm sure there are advantages to a custom rod, and the weight and the feel and the action on it that you want. They would take my blue collar rod if I started fishing with my blue collar card if I started fishing with them. I'd have to change my name.
No,
But
man, just I know a guy sponsored by a company, and he'll just wrap their logo around it. Wow, I got my
Felicia
sister in here. Yeah,
Poncel. Oh,
that's my sister.
well, good evening, sissy. Excuse me, man. The menthol spring's coming here, so that pollen's
Oh,
active. A little.
yeah. Trust me. I went out to my boat cover earlier, and it's solid black. Well, it used to be. Now it's like a green haze. You can slap it and just watch the pollen fly off of it. Because, I mean, you guys, what? It's 30 degrees up there, probably 40.
It got up to 60 the past couple of days.
Wow.
Yeah, we
That's like a heat
starting to
wave.
look like some.
you,
I
you
mean,
guys,
it's
you
good
guys
for this
turn
time
on
of
your
year.
air conditioner.
Actually, the past few years we go straight from heat to the AC. It goes from like 40 to 90. Like, I don't know. It's just that's the two seasons left. I don't, climate change or whatever it happens to be. It's just hot and cold. That's all you get.
Yeah.
You get maybe 2 days of comfortable. You know, that Tuesday to Thursday is spring, and then maybe.
Yeah. That's kind of Florida's exact opposite. Because it'll get cold, and I'm like, oh, the cold sucks. And then it gets hot, and I'm like, oh, the heat sucks. But it's hot like 9 months out of the year. So, I mean, we're seeing 80s here now. So,
I mean, when it gets hot here, it gets miserable. The East Coast is humid.
oh, definitely.
It's like nothing but humidity and pollen. So
Yeah,
we
people
get
don't realize how much
our
humidity
summers.
makes.
Our summers, it gets up, 93, like
Yeah,
110 real field.
right.
Which I never got that. I'm like, if it feels 110, it's 110. I don't, you know. Like it's 90, but it feels 110. Then it's 110. Is it?
Yeah. Well, my grandfather used to always say, and when I was talking about, being in Iraq, it'd be 140 degrees. And he'd be like, it's a dry heat. I'm like, here, let me go turn the oven on, stick your head in it, and tell me how dry that is.
Yep. That's what I tell everybody too. That's a dry heat. Yeah. So's
Yeah.
my oven. I don't put my head in it.
Yeah.
I got friends in Arizona that tell me that, oh, it's a dry heat. 123 is hot. I don't care how dry it is. It's
Oh, man.
hot.
So we've been on like some of the highways in Iraq, and you can crack an egg in your canteen cup and fry it. Just sitting it on the concrete. 140 degrees black top. It's just crazy. But I will give my sis a shout out. She come tuned in. She's my older sis. She is proud of her. She's come a long ways last few years. So your little bro's proud of you.
Golf, you were in Desert Storm.
And while, man, I thought you were a lot older. I thought you were like World War One-ish, Civil War-ish. My buddy Kevin was. Kevin was like one of the original Army guys. I think he helped found. He was a founder of the Army.
I joined in high school, and they decided they didn't want me.
Man,
I had asthma as a kid. I don't know.
Oh, see, Wild Man ruined it. He was 101st. He was a dirty bird. Screaming Eagles.
Fort Campbell, Kentucky.
Oh,
I'm
man.
101st. And
80
you know what's funny?
Baby. That's the only way to go. Double A's, baby.
You know what's funny, Jeff? From Kentucky? The only part of Fort Campbell that's in Kentucky is the post office. It's actually in Tennessee. Right.
Yeah, rocket science. All right.
But no, I'm from like all my family before me. You know, I had uncles and noms. My grandfather and all his brothers were in WW2. His dad and all his brothers were in WW1. And matter of fact, um, like this is like my fame story back home. But the part of Tennessee I'm from, my great grandfather and his first cousin were drafted on the same day for World War I. They were drafted the same day at the same post office for World War I, that area of Tennessee. They went and fought in the trenches in World War I. However, when they came back, our cousin Alvin had Gary Cooper play him in a movie because he won the Congressional Medal of Honor. It was Alvin C. York.
All right.
So that's like my claim to fame back home. I'm cousins with Alvin C. York.
Nice. That's cool shit.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
You learn all kinds of things, you know?
But when you're Alvin C. York's cousin, and you know, like your grandfather drove a Jeep for Eisenhower in the war, all that. Oh, you had asthma? Yeah, sorry, kid. Yeah, it's like I think you're kind of expected to be in the military.
Yeah, but I'm a firm believer, and I get this a lot too. And there's sometimes I'll talk to veterans, and they're like, you know, I was only this, or I was only that. You know, I didn't do this. It didn't matter. I mean, we all have our niche in life and where you're supposed to be, no matter we accept that or not. That was just not your path. And, you know, so I always tell everyone, you know, hey, it's not, you know, not joining or not doing this or that. It's that you make the most of the life that you live. That way, when you look in the mirror at the end of the day, you smile and say, hey, I've done me, you know? And so that's huge. You know, it doesn't define us just because, you know, somebody served or they didn't. You know, I mean, don't ever discredit yourself for that. So,
well, I was the last one in line that went back to. So damn good movie. Yeah, it's not bad. Sergeant York. It's called Sergeant York in the movie.
right,
Gary
right,
Cooper.
right, yeah.
Yeah, Gary Cooper played him. I will let you in on a little secret. Gary Cooper is 6 inches taller than Alvin C. York.
So that's like 3 feet taller than Sonny Levens.
Okay.
I give Sonny a hard time, but he's like 5'6". Would you ever guess that? Like literally every time I talked to him before I met him, I thought the dude was 5'10", you know, 6 feet tall. And when I first meet him, I'm like, no, seriously, like, is this your like stunt double? So,
are you standing on something in the
yeah?
booster
It's like,
seat?
how do you meet? Because I'd met other people that he had met, and you see the photo, and he looks just as tall. But same thing we do with bass fishing or fishing to make that fish look bigger. I'm gonna hold it close to the camera and get back, so he just stands a little closer. You know, he looks a lot bigger.
Yeah, I ain't seen him in a while. I mean, in the chat last week, but I hadn't.
Yeah, he's been super swamped. He's moved out of that Boston area, and now or Massachusetts, whatever. And now he's down in Florida, and he's been, I think, just swamped with work because we were talking about firing the FFN back up. You know, trying to really go back old school. It's just not lining up right now.
You know what? Just everybody come on back home to the BCF.
Well, there you go. That's another option, you know.
Yeah, I'm here.
But yeah,
I can host totally, more than one person. We can get a panel on here.
Yeah, I would totally be interested, man, to like talking to some of my sponsors and you know, let's get the word out and I mean, let's become the next Basscast or something. I mean, we grow this podcast, and if that's something you would love to do, me personally, like I said, I've tried it, and I just can't. I couldn't keep up for the longest time. But for you to have been around that long, hey man, that's some of your passion, man. I mean, and you don't have to be a fisherman. That's the great thing about social media today is you don't have to be some great angler or shoot fishing content. The biggest thing is just being a presence on social media. I've found, obviously, I'm not a great angler, but companies sponsor me because I got a following on social media for some reason. I think people are just like, why is this guy, is this guy homeless, like broadcasting from somewhere? But no, I mean, I that following, so that take you a long way. I'm sure we could help you get back.
Yeah, maybe so. I have a video launching tomorrow. I actually did a tutorial for Chris at his request. So I did yesterday on how to use the trout magnet. So that launches tomorrow at 5. I did a little research on when to upload, and they're saying Fridays after 5 is one of the better times. So I'm going to try that.
Yeah.
Especially since I'm doing these on Thursday nights. I took a vote on Twitter, and Thursday night won. Aaron Taggerson, welcome in, welcome in. You definitely look homeless. Hey, Gumpa, where are you from? I can't remember offhand. Michigan? Michigan? Is he from Michigan?
No, is it Michigan? No, I didn't think it was Michigan. I thought it was I don't want to cheat now and look because he's going to answer.
Central
Is that
Illinois.
Wisconsin? Oh, yeah.
Michigan. Hall and Ash was from Michigan. That's one of the things about, me and Tim were talking about it last week, the pros and the cons of social media. And though there are a lot of cons, social media can be a toxic pit sometimes. I think, this right here, this community, that's a good word. The community that we built is one of the biggest pros. I've met Tim and Gumpa and you, Stanley Orchard. I'm friends with Grant McIntosh. I've had a internet relationship with. I've even met some in real life. I've met Tim at the Bassmaster Classic. I met Desert Angler down there. I've met Billy Claybo, fishing with Billy.
Right.
Me and him have been fishing twice together.
Oh, nice.
Chris Summerall, we've been fishing 3 times. We actually met on Twitter, found out we lived like an hour from each other.
Yeah, I think the very first person I met in real life that I was friends with on Twitter, I do believe was Sonny. And wow, do I regret that meeting? But no, seriously, it's really been wild, man. I've had the pleasure of having Dar Sizzle on the boat. She's been out with me, her and her boyfriend Puddin. Really great people, man. They were phenomenal. Funny story is the day I had them on the boat, and oh man, fishing was horrible. And we're down on the Kissimmee chain, and we're down the Kissimmee River. And I hooked this fish, and I didn't realize that I hooked a fish and a log at the same time. And so I'm dragging this log thinking this is like a giant. I'm like, get the net, get the net. And it's like a 3-inch round log and a pound bass that is hooked to it. So I feel him vibrating as he's trying to get off, but he's stuck into the log at the same time too. So funny, that was kind of funny. I'm yelling for the net, and then it gets next to the boat, and you see the limb going by, and I move my rod, and he comes out from under the log, and it's just a little tiny fish I put in the boat. But Darcy and them were great. Her brother actually is an active duty Marine. They've invited me several times to go down. They do a lot of fishing. Obviously, I mean, they got the offshore boat, they got the freshwater boat. But really cool. I've met Cricket Coates, a young female angler. She's coming up in the ranks. I think she fishes the Bassmaster like high school series. Met Tim. Never met him in real life, but wonderful dude, Aaron Taggerson. We talk a lot. I've same thing. Talked to Gumpa or Wild Man. I've talked to Jeff, like I said. Meeting you, and it's fascinating because think about it. I mean, think 20 years ago. You met somebody online. That was your Nigerian prince just trying to get your social security number. But now, it's wild. So,
Well, I'm in my 40s. I remember the commercial. It was a Super Bowl commercial in the 90s. I think I want to say 90, maybe 1990, 1991. That Super Bowl. There's a little girl sitting on the beach. It's coming, and they said the World Wide Web is coming, and the hell is the World Wide Web? So I remember life before the internet. So
I do too. I remember when
yeah, that too.
Dial up, man. You're getting a couple kilobytes maybe, and now we can stream live. It's just wild. Technology has just really progressed.
Now you push a button and video chat somebody on the other side of the world. It's incredible. But I did. I read a joke one time. If somebody from the past came to today's future, what would be the hardest thing to explain? And somebody said it would be that in my pocket is a supercomputer that has every bit of knowledge in the known world inside of it.
Absolutely.
And everybody uses it to argue with strangers or to look at pictures of cats and get in arguments with strangers.
Very true.
Like what? So
yeah, I mean, we use our phone now for transportation. You can book flights. You can book an Uber to come pick you up from your house, get food delivered. I mean, oh man, I remember when you actually had to call the pizza place, and you would give them that, and you would have to tell them on the map where you were because there wasn't Google Maps, and they'd be like, "All right, I'll be there," So, yeah, man,
the old man on there. You're a decade older than me, then, Gump. I'm 43 this year. Yeah. All right. So when you're not fishing for bass, do you fish for any other species?
I do not.
You don't fish for any other species?
I am strictly a bass fisherman. I've had people out, like I said, Dar Sizzle and them, they've invited me out to do some saltwater fishing, and I don't know, it's just not. I grew up so close to the Intercoastal Waterway and growing up around Brunswick area, St. Simons, Georgia, which is on the coast. Saltwater fishing just is not appealing to me. So freshwater is it, and when I fell in love with bass fishing, and then, like I said, I was telling the story earlier how fishing saved my life. I guess I have an internal connection to bass because I think about it as that my lifesaver. So I have dedicated my life to learning these jokers and trying to teach everybody I take out any technique I've picked up. And I have been fortunate, man, to speak to legends, I mean, David Dudley. I've talked to Kevin Van Dam and Bill Dance. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you can see. Let's see here. There's signed Bill Dance hat back there.
I got one of those.
Yeah, man. Dude is.
I've got a white hat with an orange tee on it, signed by Bill Dance.
Yeah, the Tennessee hat, man.
Yeah. You got something in your frame there, man. When you readjusted.
Oh, there we go.
All right.
So I'll never forget the first iCast I met Bill Dance. 2019, I was asked to Well, I say I was asked. I was on the Mercury Pro team, and I was at the Mercury tent, and the Mercury tent was next to the Quantum tent. And Bill Dance, Quantum, that's his brand. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you, after like 30 minutes, he was like, "Why did they let this guy in here?" Like, he was like, I just drilled him. I asked him so many questions, and I say that, nah, he was so approachable, super polite. I mean, he's a legend. He's Bill Dance. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you can't not like Bill Dance if you're a bass fisherman. And just to be able to sit next to him and talk to him and ask him questions, um, like I said, I'm sure he was ready to go.
Especially if you do, fishing media. He's kind of the godfather of fishing on TV. You know what I mean?
Oh, him and Roland Martin by far.
I
Um,
remember. Well, I grew up in Tennessee, so I saw Bill Dance first, of course, because he's out of Tennessee. He's a Tennessee boy.
right.
But Roland Martin is the only one of those that I haven't met. And what's terrible about that is like Roland Martin's the only one I don't have my picture taken with of those like big names. I've met Jimmy Houston. Jimmy Houston's a great guy, by the way. He walked around the classic with me for like an hour, just BSing. He's like, "Do you know where this is?" Man, I ain't from here. And he's like, "Come on, well, let's go find it." Oh, okay. you know?
I can't wait, man. I can't wait for you to come to ICAST this year or next year, or no,
uh,
this year. This year, yeah. It'll be July, August. I'll get you in. No matter what I got to do, we'll figure it out. But I'll get you an invite.
so, but yeah, that was like a bucket list thing. Getting my picture with Bill Dance, him signing the hat, and it's I felt bad, but like I respected him too because he had just gotten out of the hospital. Like he was having sick issues. They did some things on his. They took some scans of his heart then, and he got out of the hospital and he went to the classic, like
Yeah.
because he knew the people were there to do a meet and greet with him. And I was looking all over for him, and then I ran across him, and I was like, he ain't feeling well or whatever. But he's like, "It's what you came here for, ain't it?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah. All right, come on, let's go." Cool.
Nice.
But
Those guys are legends too. I mean, you remember like back in the day, we had what 3, 4 channels you could watch, and it was like every Saturday morning there was
mm,
fishing on TV. And
yeah,
man, watching Roland, and then a funny story. The first time I met Scott Martin, I'm at Roland Martin Marina, and I think we were fishing a BFL, or maybe I was practicing for a BFL. There's like a line at the marina bait station. I was getting some baits, and there's a guy in front of me. I stepped on the back of his sandal, and he turns around. And he's like, "My bad, sorry." And I was like, "Wait a minute, like you're Scott Martin, like." Holy crap! Like, I'm just losing it. Like, why is this guy standing in line? But oh man, super nice guy. Of course, took my photo. Actually, apologized to him later, and he'll probably remember this if he ever sees this or somebody talks to him about it. But I apologized later because I didn't even think about it. Like, I immediately said, "Hey, let me take a photo with you." I didn't ask. I just said, "Hey, let me get this photo with you." And I felt so bad about it. I was like, "Oh my god, I should have asked." This dude probably gets approached all the time, but he was so super cool about it. He was like, "No worries, man." And so, what a legend! I mean, your dad's rolling, you're Scott. I mean, what a great guy.
and Roland is, and actually finish my story. I was going to this year up here where we live in out of Harrisburg is the biggest outdoor show in the country. They have the hosted by the NRA. It's the Great American Outdoor Show in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and Roland was there this year. And I go every year, but this year I was feeling a little under the weather that week. Like COVID was still, like COVID was still kind of a thing. People were a little scared
Yeah.
of it. If you're sick, stay home. So I was feeling a little under the weather that week, and I'm like, it's probably nothing, but I guess I'll stay home this year. And I didn't go. And then Roland Martin shows up, and I'm like, son of a, because I go every year, and he's the only one of those like old school legends like that I haven't met. I've met,
Yeah.
Jimmy Houston. I've met Bill Dance. I've met Hank Parker.
Nice.
These guys that were on TV when I was a kid, except Roland.
We'll get you rolling this year at ICAST.
Oh yeah, Florida. He's out of Florida. ICAST
Yeah.
is in Orlando, right?
Yep. Yeah. I'll get you. Like I said, just plan on it. We'll let me get the dates together, and I'll get your invite. You're invited officially. I'll make it. I'll get your email, and I'll get you a badge, and no worries, we'll get you in. Great
right.
time. It's phenomenal to see some of these companies, and I'm very fortunate. Lithium battery power and Garmin, Mercury, and these other companies. I'll say I have to. I get to work their booths and kind of see some of the new technology. So it's amazing. So I'll get you the invite, and I'll see if I can get us in the ICAST Cup. It was not too late. So
All right.
4-hour shootout. Like I said, launch out of Toho, fish off the boat for a few hours. So we'll make something happen. Either way, we'll make some content.
You got extra gear on the boat?
Say what?
You got extra gear on the boat?
Is a 50-pound rabbit fat?
Yeah. It's hard to fly with gear, man.
Don't worry, man. I have more rods than I know. So you asked about extra gear. So here's a story. So when I blew my power head and I was getting my first loaner boat, I'm going through my boat, taking stuff out. And I'm like, wow, when did I buy this rod and reel? Still had the tags on it, no line. I'm just pulling these brand new rod and reel combos out of my rod locker. So yeah, I got extra gear. Trust me. Matter of fact, my reaction innovations order just came in, and it came in a freaking 5-gallon bucket. So I've got extra gear.
All right. We gotta make that. Tim was talking about. We gotta make that Seminole Twitter fish camp thing happen. That would be cool. All of us together.
We'll do the Seminole Twitter pineapple tattoo tour. We need to make it all happen at the same time. I'm gonna make sure Tim gets the pineapple tattoo. Whether I gotta donate a lot of money to make that happen, I'm hoping to kick his ass on the water. But if I don't, I'm gonna at least donate. So because we're gonna set a dollar amount. There's gonna be an amount set to raise funds. And if we reach that amount, then we're both getting the pineapple tattoo no matter what. So the loser of the pineapple, the winner of the pineapple tour gets to choose the design, not the placement, because I wouldn't want him to have a pineapple put on my cheek or something. But you get to choose the design. So it's going to be huge. It's going to be a great time. Like I said, I'm working behind the scenes with a couple companies trying to lock everything in, but we're talking about companies like Garmin, Motor Guide, Power Pole. It's gonna be good when we finally get to do it. So it's gonna happen this year, no matter what I got to do. But that's the raise awareness to suicide. That's everything about FX3. And I guess maybe I'll steal your show for just a few moments and bring up the fact that I've been posting these fundraisers on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. So I'm trying to end the year or in the first quarter of FX3 fundraising by raising $8,000. We are far behind that goal. And like me and you were talking about earlier, the first of the year for nonprofits as far as certifications, paying CPAs, taxes, and stuff like that. It's a lot of cost for us. So I'm trying to raise enough funds to offset those costs and project us to the next 100 trips to take veterans out. So everyone tonight, watching, share, hit the website up at www.fishingfamilyforever.org, and you can donate, you can share. just help me raise the funds. The first quarter ends March 31st. So it's right around the corner. We're a couple weeks away. So help me reach that goal. Help me keep going. And, let's save some lives.
All right, fishingfamilyforever.org. That is the website for FX3. You can head on over there and help Michael Johns with his organization and his goals, and maybe even help him get a pineapple tattoo printed on our buddy Tim Zadrazil from last week. Thank everybody so much for coming. We're going to wrap this up here pretty quick in a minute. If you haven't already, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit that thumbs up for me. It really helps with the algorithm. Thanks for coming in and thanks for commenting. MJ, what do you got last on your mind? What do you want to say before we go?
It was a pleasure, brother, and honor to be on the show tonight. I've watched you for a while. I follow, obviously we follow each other on Twitter, and I enjoyed tonight. Talking about earlier, we were talking about bringing the family back together and bringing everyone back together. This is what it's all about. This is, us kind of bringing the family back together. Let's get them back to old school. So thank you very much. Very honored. I do want to give one shout out to Lithium Battery Power. Phenomenal partnership announced today. And if you guys get a chance, check me out April 7th through the 9th on Santee Cooper, MLF. You can watch the live stream weigh-ins, and 17th to the 20th to the 23rd is the actual competition. So check me out on the MPFL. And once again, brother, thanks for having me. And everyone, just have a great day. Remember, all veterans, anyone, you're not alone. 912-270-3726. That's my personal number, because suicide and suicide awareness is very personal to me.
All right. So I'll talk to you later about iCast if we're going to make that happen. We will talk again with Tim about Twitter Fish Camp, and I'm sure Tim will be on here again sometime. Me and Tim do these quite a bit. We've done 3 or 4 before now.
Nice.
If you're new here tonight and you know Tim, or you don't know Tim, or you want to know who we're talking about with the pineapple, everything, me and Tim actually did a live interview last week that is still up on the channel. You can go watch the replay. Leave a thumbs up, leave a like, leave a comment, all that. Appreciate everybody for coming in tonight. Great show, Michael. Thank you for being here. Michael, MJ, whichever you prefer. So great show tonight. Appreciate you being here. I do not know what next week is yet, but I will post that out as soon as I do on the guest. We'll announce it. We'll see you next week. Thank everybody for coming. Hey, it's good getting the band back together. Good night, everybody.
Night.